Hello, I'm Ashley, the engineer at Andover Norton. Now, some of you may know me from old. I'm an ex-Royal Naval warrant officer, and as such I was used to dealing from the person that walked through the gate at the training establishment right through to dealing with the Admiral, who may have an idea that maybe wasn't the best. I have a unique way of telling people that your idea is not that great. Now, this comes to an email I received this week. Now, somebody had bought GPM pistons and rings off us and was fitting them to his cylinder barrel, which he'd had liners. It was a 750, so there's a good chance he's going to get away with having the liners fitted. Now, I'll read some of this email because it makes interesting reading. Last April, I ordered on your site a pair of new pistons, standard size GPM, made in Italy, for my 750 Commando. I have just received my cylinder block with the new liners fitted to bored to 73mm as required. Everything was okay for a new life and pleasure with my bike, but as you can see on the joined pictures, they're his pictures, I won't share them with you. Liners, internal dimension, nearly some hundreds of a millimetre, exactly 72.97. I'd go with that, good dimension. And he had 0.1 of a millimetre, which is about 3.6, 3.7 thou clearance. Not enough if you're fitting a liner in an air-cooled engine. I would go more than that. Remember, a lot of the common data out there at the moment is about water-cooled engines. Once you start getting into air-cooled engines, if you go to some of these manufacturers these days, they don't want to know. They won't give you a figure. Right, so he's fitted the actual piston. He's got a clearance which he's happy with. He's fitted one oil scraper ring in place of the new liner of the correct dimension. Now, he's put the ring in the actual bore and found there's no gap. Now, apparently, he's then put a top ring in and he's found he's got 0.1 of a millimetre, which for our Americans is about, we equate it to about 4 thou. It's actually about 3.6, 3.7. Now, he then goes on to say, of course this is abnormal because the gap must be 0.2 to 0.3 millimetre, or there is a risk of breakage at least during assembly or when running the engine. So he then goes on to mention how possible that we've not been doing our checks correctly on these piston rings because they don't fit. Now, he gets on to saying that we should be checking this stuff and all the rest of it and be checking our rings. And in the immediate future, I used French rings. I don't know a French company that actually makes piston rings, but I suspect there is. Whether they're designed to run in a cast iron bore, I don't know. If he's fitted those with the gaps he's got, again, there's a very good chance that he could actually end up with a seizure. Now, the problem with a liner is they can warp, depending on how they're fitted and the quality of that fitting of that liner. You don't always get the heat transfer into the surrounding cast iron of the cylinder barrel. You can end up in a lot of problems. Not too bad on the 750, but an 850 is where we hear and see a lot of it where people fit liners. Now, he's then turned around and said, I advise you to sort out and speak to your suppliers. Yeah, right on. Gandini and GPM are selling pistons since the old king died, so I don't think I need to talk to them about it. My reply, not sure where you're getting your information from, but it's very wrong. The liners should be honed to suit a piston of clearance. I would have gone to about 4.5 thou clearance with the liners. That's roughly what I do for a cast iron bore as well. The piston gap, if he's got a 0.1 millimetre, is most probably going to be a bit too tight. The ring gap is not abnormal. You set these yourself. There's actually tools online that actually grind piston rings. So God knows what he's been fitting to his engines all over these years, but it sounds like he's been very, very lucky. Now, that comes on to the fact that GPM have been making these rings. Whether they make them or get them in from somewhere else, I don't know. But I've never had a problem with them. We sell bucket loads of them and no one else seems to have a problem with them. Now, the pistons, the GPM pistons, yeah, they can vary. And of course, most people these days know that you give a set of pistons to your actual company doing your rebore, fitting your liners, tell them what clearance you want, and they would do that and mark the pistons for each bore that they've worked to. Sometimes they do vary. Sometimes it's not too bad. You might get a pair that are pretty even. Sometimes you get them a little bit out. You want to be half a thou on one more than the other. But either way, it's easily done. And of course, pistons. When it comes to pistons, these will go down this size to a 3 thou clearance. Now that is based on this material this piston's made from being used in a water-cooled engine. I wouldn't use it at 3 thou in an air-cooled engine. I want a bit more clearance. Now, that sums up today's video. If you've got a problem, please feel free to get in touch and ask us, is this right or is this wrong? Just don't email us and tell me I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, please give me reason, because I'm all ears. I didn't get to where I am today by not taking people's advice and listening to people that are better, more experienced than I've got. Any questions or queries, get in touch with myself or Simon at Andover Norton. Thank you.